The last stop. The sun had long set, casting an eerie glow over the city streets as the last bus of the night trundled along its route. The passengers aboard were a motley crew, each of them seeking the comfort of their homes after a long day. They exchanged weary glances as the bus made its stops, the weariness of the day turning into impatience. Among the passengers was Emma, a young woman with an air of sadness that seemed to envelop her. She had boarded the bus late, her eyes distant and her demeanor detached. She found a seat near the back, gazing out the window at the passing cityscape, lost in her own thoughts. As the bus continued its journey, the atmosphere inside grew increasingly somber. The passengers noticed it, a shared unease settling upon them, as if an invisible fog was seeping through the bus. Shadows danced outside, seemingly darker than the night itself, and the air grew heavier with every passing moment. With each stop, the tension on the bus increased. Passengers whispered to each other, sharing uneasy glances as they tried to shake off the unsettling feeling that had taken hold. And yet, none of them could pinpoint the source of their unease. Emma, however, remained curiously unaffected by the growing tension. She stared out the window, her gaze fixed on the darkened streets, as if she was searching for something only she could see. Her reflection in the window seemed distant, almost as if it was disconnected from her physical presence. As the bus reached its final stop, a desolate part of town enveloped in an eerie silence, the driver's voice crackled through the intercom, announcing the last stop of the night. The passengers, their fear palpable, shuffled off the bus one by one, casting wary glances around them. But Emma remained seated, her eyes now empty and hollow. She didn't hear the driver's repeated announcements or the gentle urging of the few remaining passengers. It was as if she was in a trance, locked in a world of her own making. The bus driver, growing increasingly unnerved, approached Emma cautiously. "Miss, we've reached the last stop. You need to disembark." Emma turned her vacant gaze towards the driver, her voice a whisper that seemed to come from a distant place. "I can't leave. I'm waiting." The driver exchanged a worried glance with the remaining passengers. He stepped back, uncertain of what to do. The air grew even thicker, and the shadows outside seemed to converge on the bus, wrapping it in an otherworldly darkness. As the bus pulled away from the stop, the remaining passengers watched with a mix of pity and fear, their eyes fixed on Emma's ghostly figure sitting alone in the back seat. They could feel a presence beyond their understanding, a presence that had been there all along. And then, the truth struck them with a force that left them breathless. Emma was the ghost, trapped on the bus for reasons unknown. Her inability to leave, her detachment from the world, and her ethereal demeanor suddenly made sense. She was a restless spirit, forever bound to the bus, unable to move on to whatever awaited beyond the veil. The passengers exchanged horrified glances, realizing that they had shared their final ride with a spirit that had been among them all along. The realization shook them to their core, and as they looked back at the receding figure of the bus, a haunting thought lingered in their minds. How many other lost souls were trapped in places they could never escape? As dawn broke, the bus continued its route, its windows reflecting the pale light of morning, and in its wake, it left behind a city forever marked by the events of that fateful night, a night when the living and the dead had shared a journey into the unknown.